YouTube! Right after getting the first big Zexal leaks, we are now going to be talking about Exceed summons to expect. We're putting our money down. We are predicting what Konami's going to give us for rank 2s, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9s. In addition to me predicting what we're going to get, you have to give me credit. If any of these exceeds actually come out, you got to give me credit, okay? We put effort into this list. We had help with the chat. The chat also got to tell me what their favorite exceed was of every rank, which is not going to be a reasonable prediction. So again, this is not a wish list. This is not a demand. This is what I reasonably predict that we're going to get for Exceed summoning.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at him. Let's go.
Starting off with the level 2 exceed. So I'm going to go all the way down to what is a reasonable way, a relatable way to exceed as a level 2. Well, Venus has the effect to pay 500 to summon a mystic ball from your deck or hand. So all you have to do is pay 1,000 life, summon 2 balls on the field, and you're going to be able to summon any of these exceeds we're about to talk about. So what could you do with Venus? And you let me know in the chat or the comments what other level 2 ways to exceed. So with that combo, we could make an Armored Kappa, which is a good stall card. It could detach to boost up its attack or defense by plus 1,000 permanently. And then also during either player's battle step, when a battle is involved with this card, you could just discard a card to make it so you don't get destroyed by battle and you take no battle damage. Very nice. We got Gachigachi, a good stall card again. It's basically 2,200 defense, and anytime it would be destroyed, you detach a material instead, so it sticks to the fields. Also, that boost per material, gaining 200 each, per ball, for example, that boost goes to your entire field, so on summon, boost up your entire field by plus 400. And if you're tired of stalling, whip out the Dkayed Phoenix. Any 2 level 2 monsters, you put them on top of each other, then you detach a material, target a face-up wind, which will be itself, unless you have another wind for some reason. Then you could attack twice. That's 3,000 damage on an open field. Pretty good in the TCG. Now, the chat's favorite level 2 exceed. Again, these are what I reasonably expect for us to receive. So this is not reasonable, is totally awesome. It's got such a big, long effect that I really didn't even want to go into it. It basically negates stuff and special summons stuff and does a lot of stuff. Oh my Jesus is the... Yeah, you read it. Okay, don't get scared off from exceeds from this. This is just what they're going nuts about. Then, reasonable level 3s. How can we make a level 3 exceed relatably? Well, we could double Nanishi. Nanishi allows an additional summon. Exceed. You got a wielder or a tracker with the level 3 on the field. Special summon instead of synchro. Just put them on top of each other. Exceed. So what are the reasonable level 3s to expect? Okay, these are bets. I'm betting these cards are going to come. Zen mains with the 2 Nanishis, for example. If this face-up card would be destroyed, you could detach a material instead. And then during the end phase, you could destroy any card in the field. This was very popular at 2,100 defense. It was a safe turn 1. You even summon it to attack and maybe take out a Necro Valley. Wouldn't that be great that every deck now has an out to just destroy any card in the field if you could make a level 3 exceed? That's what Zen mains pretty much does. And then we have a very funny card, the Acid Golem of Destruction. This is 3,000 attack and at a big cost. After 2 turns, you start burning for 2,000 damage and you can't attack. Why? Because every turn you have to detach a material. And if you can't detach a material, which you can after 2 turns, you start burning for 2k and you can't attack. So this is good for quick victories, but if they stop your quick victory with a Kiteroid, you're probably going to lose. Now, some people are funny. They're going to summon this, use up all the materials, and then some way, somehow, they're going to give it to your opponent. And then your opponent can't attack with it. They're going to burn for 2k every turn. I'm sure there's some good ideas to give this to your opponent, so you tell me. Then a very generic level 3 I do expect is Leviathan Dragon. Very simply, it's 2,000 attack, but on the turn it's summoned, you're going to detach a material to quickly make it 2,500. Vanilla 2,500, but if it survives for another turn, then the next turn you can make it 3,000 at the cost of not being allowed to attack directly. So very good, simple effect. And then something a bit more exciting is the Leviathan at 1,800 attack. Very simply, detach a material to special summon any banished monster that's level 4 or lower from either player's banished pile to your side of the field. This is responsible for a lot of combos. People like this with Infernities. You special summon the Infernity Archfiend, you get its effect. Now, the chat's favorite level 3 Exceed. I don't think so much so the Exceed itself. I think the deck type itself is the Burning Abyss deck type. This is 2 level 3 monsters. Any deck could make this. Normally, a boss monster Exceed for a specific deck type will say it requires that deck type's name as the monsters you use for the Exceed, but this doesn't. And what it does is at 1,000 attack, 2,500 defense, you mill 3, top 3 cards of your deck. So any deck with mill synergy you could play this with. It'll become 2,500 attack for that turn. And then after attacking, it'll go to defense at 2,500 defense. And then it will add a Burning Abyss from the grave to your hand if sent to the grave. You're not really going to know what that means unless you know about the deck type, but basically you're going to mill possibly a Burning Abyss, then add it to your hand. So consistency for mill and all that good stuff. Let's get to level 4 Exceeds. This is probably the most popular level for Exceeds. Before we talk about Yuma's Ace Monster, how do we reasonably exceed? Reasonably, we're going to exceed with Black Wings. You could summon a Zephyros, then special summon a Bora, put them on top of each other, and you're going to be able to make most of the level 4 Exceeds we're about to talk about. Starting off with the Ace Monster, Utopia. This is coming, not if, it's when, and I do think it's going to be in the main box, probably as an ultra rare. I do think they'll give it to us as a skill for free, but the skill will probably be so bad it's not worth it. But then Konami gets to say, hey, we did give it to you for free through a skill. Now, what does this do? Why is it worth being an ultra rare of a main box? Why is it worth being the Ace Monster? Well, it's 2 level 4 monsters, so the Bora, Zephyros, or any level 2 level 4 monsters, boom. If a monster declares an attack, detach a material, negate the attack. So you got 2 materials, 2 negates, but once you lose all your materials, if your opponent attacks into your Utopia, it just dies. It blows up. With no materials, it destroys itself. Now, a cool card. I'm not going to say that I'm expecting this card. Maybe. This will probably be a structure deck card much later, but Utopia Ray is a very interesting level 4 Exceed. Now, you read it, and it says 3 level 4 light monsters. Whoa, that's very difficult to make happen. Well, ignore that requirement. This is a special Exceed that's going to Exceed summon on top of the Utopia. So you just have to make the Utopia, and then you just, right away, you could put the Utopia Ray on top of the Utopia, and then you could read the effect yourself. I'm not going to go into it, but it's just an example of the different ways to Exceed. So this is what it would look like. You have these materials, they're all under you, and then you have a pretty cool effect being summoned on top of the Utopia. Back to reasonable expectations. I am expecting these cards is Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is very small. It's 1,700 attack unless you used at least 1 water monster to create it. Then it will be 2,200 attack. And what it does is quick play. You're going to detach a material during your opponent's turn, preferably in their draw phase. And then your opponent cannot activate effects in the grave for the entire turn. They got Spectral Sword in the grave, detach in the draw phase, they're not going to activate. Detach this early against a Witchcrafter deck. Goodbye to all of their Witchcrafter card effects in the grave. Their spells won't add back, their Witchcrafters won't banish. So this will be a very reasonable expectation as it's easily dealt with itself and could stop your opponent from activating cards in the graveyard. Now, we have Bujin Susan. Bujin Susan is going to be a boss monster for Bujins. Bujins are spread between a couple boxes, so hopefully they have a really good way to reprint them to allow us to get excited for this new Exceed. And basically, it's like a Bujin Purgatrio. It can attack every monster on the field. It could search for a Bujin. I'm expecting this, probably a structure deck. You tell me in the comments what's the best way to reprint the older cards? Give Konami good ideas. Maybe a card trader that you could use gems on for specific older cards. And then we have another deck type specific card, the Fire Fist Boss Monster. This will be 2 level 4 Fire Fist again. The Fire Fist cards are spread between many old boxes. Please, Konami, we need a good way to reprint these cards. It's not acceptable to give us these expected cards without a good way to reprint the older cards. Now, it searches for a Fire Formation card, and the Fire Formations do a lot of stuff with the Fire Fist, and also can negate all face-up effect monsters only on your turn. I do expect this. I hope to see it. And then we have the most basic expectation, Gem Knight Pearl. 2 level 4 monsters. Boom. No effect. But you get to become 2600 attack. You get to deal with a Dark Magician. If your deck somehow can't deal with a Dark Magician, now you can. Now, chat's favorite level 4 Exceed does not mean that this is coming. This is their favorite. Shockmaster. What does this do? 3 level 4 monsters, so it's difficult to summon. You could just get a bunch of Black Wings in one turn to summon it. And what you do is you detach to declare monster, spell, or trap. Then until the end of your opponent's turn, they can't activate that card type. So it's kind of like a Heat Wave or an Access Denied. This deck, or I should say this card was used in many top tier decks back in the day. I used it in Windups to completely deny my opponent of spells or monster effects. I would summon this in the first turn. It was very, very nasty. Let's go on to level 5s. Now, I don't have much experience with the Cyber Dragon Nova, but chat swears to me that this card is a reasonable expectation to come out. It's a Cyber Dragon boss. How are you going to get 2 level 5 machines on the field? Well, you're not. You're going to use Dre. Dre's level 4, but Dre says you can make all Cyber Dragons you currently control become level 5. So with another Cyber Dragon on the field with the Dre, boom, you're making the Cyber Dragon Nova. It could special summon a Cyber Dragon from the grave. It could become 4200 attack by banishing a Cyber Dragon. And also, if sent to the graveyard by your opponent, their card effect that is, you could special summon a Cyber Dragon from your extra deck. So it's got a lot of stuff. Very good. Otherwise, let's look at the reasonable level 5 Exceeds Shokan play. Now, even though this does restrict you to just machine level 5, but this is an example to create a level 5 Exceed. You summon Dre, trigger the effect of Veer. Veer, with no fear, summons onto the field, activate the Dre, but boost up the field to level 5, and then you can make a level 5 Exceed like the Cyber Dragon Nova. Let's get back to the other level 5 Exceeds. We have Windup, Arsenal, Zenmoa. This is 2 level 5 monsters, and you could detach a material to destroy 2 set cards in the fields. It's going to be difficult to get this going. It's not a quick play effect to pop 2 set, and you have to target exactly 2 set. You could target 1 set card you control and 1 set card your opponent controls, but you probably don't want to do that. Most back row cards are chainable, but this is just an expectation of what we will possibly get. Then we have a pretty cool Crimson Knight Vampire. This will require 2 level 5 zombies. Special summons a monster from the opponent's graveyard. Also resummons itself during the next standby phase if sent to the grave by your opponent, but summons in defense. Also will have no materials, but it could keep on coming back, right? It's very interesting. And then we have Noble Knights. Again, we need the Noble Knights reprinted. Do not expect us to go back for the older cards, Konami. Come on, let's be cool. You're going to give us a boss monster for Noble Knights, and you're going to reprint the older ones so we could play it. This is the Noble Knight boss. And how do you make it? The Noble Knights from your memory, they are all level 4s normally, right? Well, most of them, or I think some of them at least, the Madrat at least, if you equip it, it becomes level 5 through its own effect. So they have that effect when equipped, becoming a level 5. Then you will make this Exceed. And on summon, it will equip 3 noble arm cards in the graveyard, so you're going to have a bunch of effects with that. You could detach one of your materials to destroy a monster on the field. Also, if something happens to it, it will special summon a noble nut from your grave. Now, let's talk about the final expectation, which is the Crimson Shadow Armor Ninja. Protects itself and other ninjas from being destroyed by quick play detaching. It's just a decent stall / protection card. I don't really think of it as protecting your other ninjas. It pretty much just protects itself. So if you want a safe turn 1, you summon this, and it kind of sticks to the field. Now, chat's favorite level 5 Exceed. What is wrong with chat? What are they talking about? So what does this do? You're going to Exceed with a Fusion and a Synchro. So let's say you have a level 3 Fusion and a level 3 Synchro. Let's just say you put them on top, you make an Exceed. Well, then you're going to summon this on top of that Exceed. Okay, I just made up a random rank and level because I don't really know if that's what the other outer entity Exceeds are, because I'm not looking into that, because this is just crazy. Now that you summon this on top, because you're not going to use 3 level 5 monsters to summon this, you're going to summon this on top of another outer entity monster that's going to have a Fusion and a Synchro under that one. Now, this has a Fusion, Synchro, and Exceed under its material list. Now, what you could do is you then get to destroy all of your opponent's cards. Just wipe out their fields completely by basically having that perfect combination of Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, boom. Now, I've been told you use a rank up spell to summon this on your opponent's turn, apparently. I don't know much about that, but there you go.